what I find fascinating is the number of folks that are unwilling to embrace changes that are happening within the digital economy. And it's really quite spectacular when you start taking a step back in terms of the changes that are happening, across the board in terms of massive changes that are happening, whether it being, participating on social media, um, whether it is currency, you name the area of your life, and there is massive digital changes that are happening that are often free. They're often really expensive, but um, a lot of people feel that they don't want to participate in it, and they feel like they are, that this isn't for them, all these kind of things. And yet, on one side, I think they're right? Like, I think they're absolutely right to sort of view this because there's lots of negativity, there's lots of like, um, all of the sort of natural human things that we have, right? And we're not nice to other people. There's lots of sex and all of that kind of things that are very human on the internet. And I understand that people don't want to participate in all of that kind of stuff. But on the flip side, if you look at individuals that are making substantial changes today and substantial differences today, it's almost because of digital infrastructure that is happening. And we're not recognizing it. We're not saying, wait a minute, these are big changes, big, important changes that are really having an impact across the board, and we should be embracing these things. The people that are and there's bad actors in that sort of group as well, right? Like there are a lot of people that you're like, what the heck, why are you having the influence that you have, right? But there's a group of people that resonate with it. And also, um there is, of those people, just like everything in life, some people get ahead in sort of nefarious ways, um, and it sort of self corrects over the long term, right? And you have to sort of think about that. That it's a long run play often, and it doesn't seem that way when you're actually doing it. And so you feel when you're participating in various different ways in this new digital life, you feel very exposed. Um, that is a good way to sort of imagine it. It feels like, oh my gosh, like everything about me is out in display. I feel like I'm a fraud. All these kind of things that you go through. Like if you're using AI, for example, you're like, well, I'm a fraud. I can't use this. This is kind of silly, until you actually interact with it and you realize, like, wait a minute, my voice is getting through. It's just a different way of doing it. And there is a lot of moments where kind of are just grunt work in my life, and I'm removing some of those things. And even on social media, it's easy to feel like you're fraudulent if you're not simply just saying, I'm just telling my story. I'm telling who I am, and a lot of people are negative and not nice, and all of those kind of things. So that shines through, and they're greedy and performance, very strongly performance oriented, all those kind of things. So it shows through. But then there's also people that are really wonderful, right? I think that is part of the reason why Mr. Beast is shining through, despite the fact that, yeah, he does every once in a while. You're like, some not so great things, but for the most part, he is doing great things that people like not only enjoy to watch, but are just kind of nice. right? So he is getting an enormous amount of influence because of just being sort of nice and kind and generous and all those kind of things that you would hope are good human characteristics. I'm just saying that there's a ton of potential um, to do well on these digital platforms, but they're and in the digital economy, but it is hard, and you have to change the way that you think about yourself. You have to do a lot of personal development, and so it's not necessarily just the tools. I often think about this, right? In most developed countries, we have libraries full of books that are free. In almost every developed country, you can walk into a library, a public library, even probably in non-developed countries or ones that are on the developing side. Um, and you can walk into a public library that has a lot of books, and there's all this knowledge, and yet most of us never take advantage of it. We don't sit there and sort of say, "Hey, whoa, this is a cool opportunity." Um, and so it's more on us to think about how we're going to interact and use it in a useful way so that we feel good about ourselves, than it is about recognizing that there's all these tools that are there and access to these tools. It's more of how do I change my way that I deal with me than it is about that there are these tools. And so we know that, tools in general, we know books, right? Um, if you read books on a regular basis, that can lead to enormous opportunities if you do it correctly, right? Like learning about personal finance, learning about these kind of sort of silly things like this. It does add up and it does make a difference. Um, but you don't know where to turn, you don't know what to read. You often think like, hey, if you read three books or one book and it's terrible, then you stop, right? Like there's all of these kind of subtle human things that we forget about that are very much baked into doing working with tools, digital tools that we need to overcome as individuals. It does provide unbelievable opportunities. It does open open up a new world, but they're just tools, and you have to interact with many of those things and feel comfortable with it, and know that you're going to be just fine when you're going on it. And that is a hard, challenging thing that most of us can't get our heads wrapped around, including myself. I often feel very nervous and shy and all of that kind of stuff. I'm not naturally a outgoing person, so this is this is this is a journey. And I just want you to know that there are opportunities that are at your fingertips, and you just have to pursue them and not feel shy or upset for pursuing them. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.